Hello again, this is Chad Everett Broshears. I am the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, and today I'm going to do a video on the lows and the highs. All right, so lows and highs, causation. All right, so a lot of people think that the lows and the highs happen to them. Like, oh, I'm just on a low right now, or I'm on a high, or, they get stuck on, a lot of people identify the lows before they identify the highs. So they'll identify, yeah, things aren't going my way right now. Now, of course, profiles, the personality profiles play a big deal in this as well, as far as how you see the world and how you behave about how you see the world, how you behave about the way you've trained people to deal with you about the way you see the world. All of that has value, but and neuroplasticity helps keep that in place, as well as the desire for that particular mindset to survive. So, all right. Quick disclaimers, I'm not trying to take the place of anyone's medical situations or give any advice, so short and sweet of it. I do have the disclaimer attached on the profile for this channel, so if you're interested, look at the first video. It's about, I think, 48 seconds or something like that. It's very short. All right, so why do we have lows and highs? First, let's identify the two. Lows are the things that you don't like happening, or life doesn't seem to be going your way or the way you wish for it to go. We'll call that a low. Or people are behaving in certain ways towards you that you don't really prefer that they behave. We'll continue to call that a low. And the highs would be when life seems to be working out. So you run into money, or you meet somebody you've been desiring to meet for a very long time, a person, a particular type of person, not necessarily a person, could be a person, but we'll say it's a personality or a particular type of person that you've been wanting to interact with. So you get really excited about that particular thing. So we'll call that a high, when life's going the way you want it to. Now, the reason why I say lows and highs causation is because I want to get more towards the root of the root of it, not really the problem, but just the root of it. So the root of it is, if you believe that these things just happen to you, you've taken your ability to create out of the picture. You are at the consequence of life. Life doesn't happen for you, it happens to you. Life doesn't happen with you, it happens to you. Either way you want to look at it, it's still the same way. Usually people that play roles that are not empowered, so they're not responsible for themselves, it doesn't matter what role that is, but if you're not responsible for yourself, you have a different kind of role that's a deviation for responsibility. So if you're not being responsible for yourself, it's pretty simple that life will happen to you. There'll be times whenever you do certain things and you get a kind of reaction that you expect or anticipate because of the set amount of things that you did in order to achieve a particular outcome. That's a pattern that we've sought out, that we have experienced, and we continue to seek out to recreate that pattern. Most of the time, these patterns aren't really all that complex. They're a bit more complex, but yet simple when you understand them. If you don't understand them, they're not always as simple until you do it more often. Like, some people may say that others just have, like, certain people have the ability to sell. Everybody has the ability to sell. They just haven't necessarily cultivated that skill set. Everybody has the abilities to do nearly everything anyone else can do, aside from a few genetic anomalies or genetic predispositions that may have somebody with the ability to run, extremely quickly because of their muscular composition, not really the condition of the environment or their conditions. And we'll use the same thing, the condition of the environment, also be their training stimulus. Well, most people have, and I'll borrow this statement from Noam Chomsky, which is, and I'm sure he's not the originator of it, but I'll borrow it from him nonetheless, and that's the poverty of stimulus. Now, what is the poverty of stimulus? It is exactly what it says it is. If you know the linguistic values of the two words and the definitive values of the two words, it is there's a poverty of, there's a lack of, or there is a missing amount of experience necessary to cultivate what we call maturity for that particular experience. So the more we get attached to a particular outcome, so attachments is the next portion. We've already identified what lows are and what highs are, and a very generic, probably a fairly unjust way, but at least I put a border, a barrier, and a definition to it. So as far as the attachment values is, we can very quickly and easily be attached to negative experiences. One way of getting attached to negative experiences is when something negative happens to you and people throw you a pity party of any evolution to a pity party, where maybe there's the survivors overcome parties, that kind of thing. We get rewarded for being sick. We get rewarded for being immature. We get rewarded for going through hard times. I'm not saying it's a bad thing or a good thing. I'm just saying that is a thing that people will commonly stop the car and not try to progress. Right? They just say that that's far enough. I don't need to go any further than this. I'm good at this point. I don't need to go any further on my destinations because I'm being rewarded to the degree I sought out for in the beginning. A lot of times we set goals with the desire for the attention we get, not necessarily for the experience the goal actually holistically obtains or supports. A lot of times it's just a desire for approval of our peers or our parents or someone who kind of gave us the idea at a younger age. So we behave in such a way to pursue that type of attention rather than the holistic reward of achieving a specific goal. If you achieve the goal of making a lot of money, the curse is that when you understand it from not having the money, and then all of a sudden you develop the money, and this is through, my wonderful abilities to connect, my cultivated skill set of connecting with people and interviewing and being able to empathically live with them. So they tell me their stories and I can really experience it and I can get their life and their plight through their challenges that they willingly share. Wealthy people have just as many challenges in life as poverty-stricken people, but the challenges are just different. You can fairly well tell your friends when you're impoverished, because they usually aren't there trying to get money from you necessarily. But when you're wealthy, sometimes you have to qualify your friends, and you don't necessarily know how to do that when you're new to wealth. Especially if the other people don't have the money, or if they're driven by money, they may not necessarily care for you as a person, as an example. All right, so your attachment values. You are not necessarily attached to the holistic outcome of a particular goal. So you have a poverty stimulus, meaning lacking of experience in order to achieve a particular goal. Predominantly, whenever these experiences or desires are actually gold, when we actually put them into a goal category or a desired category, we don't necessarily have the foresight to see all of the holistic value of that, which holistic in this sense is all involving, everything involving, or the complete experience would be the holistic experience, multiple stimulus that actually come in that actually give value to the entire experience rather than, hey, I've got a whole lot of money in the bank, right? Or, hey, I've got the, that wonderful, beautiful wife. Wonderful is a definitive, a word requiring definition, by the way. So a lot of times we'll pre-qualify a particular definition to someone or a particular title to someone before fully understanding or knowing that person. So suppose that this could be a good time to put profiles in, but I'll hold for that. Maybe I'll add it before the end of the video, or I'll do an entire video on profile development through the Feldenkrais method. All right, so as far as the attachment values, we see that there's a particular desire for an outcome. We also know by our life experiences what is predictable about that outcome to our experiences, and then what we have gathered empathically through others, through their stories, how the experience should go. So it kind of qualifies us along the way to however deep they share with us the experience and the plight of achieving that goal. Most people only want to know about the good times and share in the good times. Very few people want to know or even share in the hardships or the challenges and the struggles that create those good times. So the problem whenever you abandon the opportunity to understand the entirety of the challenge or the goal is we do not have the tools cultivated within us to deal with the challenges while we're on our own journey, because we stepped over that whenever somebody shared the excitement of maybe buying their, fourth vacation home or brand new car and not having a car payment or a car note. You kind of step over what it took to get that person to that point. Most people that I know at this point that are very successful that are self-made nearly slept in their car, and some of them did. They lived in their car because they just didn't have the finances to give them housing at one point in their development. And they learned a very vital rules and opportunities by being in that position of great impoverishment in the United States, being that would be considered a very high degree of impoverishment, not necessarily all over the world, but at least here in the United States. So now, the attachment values, we know from our experiences what we can predict. We also get attached to the romantic side of the success. That is a romantic idea that success is going to be this way. I'm going to not have another challenge ever again paying my bills, or I'll never have to date again after I meet this person, or whatever. We do this regularly in dating, by the way, and I think this could be a great example of this particular profile of thought, not necessarily profile of people, but profile of thought and methodology of thought, if you will. Whenever you're in the dating world and you meet somebody with that desire and high-end expectation where this person's going to be it, and then as you start peeling back the superficial layers and getting a bit deeper into knowing the person intimately, not necessarily meaning sex, but just intimacy as being closer to another person. So you draw closer emotionally to that person as an intimacy move. So as you get to know this person, you find that there's more things, more struggles that they've been through, more like-mindedness that the two of you have gone through, and you may prematurely identify that person as being the one you want to spend the rest of your life with. And it may be the first couple of days, first weeks, or first couple of months, and in some cases, even the first couple of years. Depending on the age range, most people in their 20s radically develop themselves into another person in their 30s, although they're still the same person. They just had no idea they would be that particular person in a whole if you would have asked them in their early 20s versus who they are in their early to mid 30s. I personally live in that example. I had no idea that I would be who I currently am if I were to have been asked by my predictability, because I only had the first 20-something years of my life to judge it by. And a lot of those were governed by my parents. We're also governed by my school systems. So I would not have predicted I would have been intellectually driven to the degree that I am now, or more of a knowledge junkie or information lover. I wouldn't have not had any inclination to that, other than I knew that I really enjoyed connecting with people. But other than that, I had no desire. I had no idea. So when you meet people and you date and you go on a first couple of dates, maybe they show the right kind of mannerisms and attention to you that you personally are seeking. And you've dated all these other people that have not shown that same degree. And we continue to peel back these layers as we get closer to the person. We continue to identify, and it's usually not one premature label. We usually apply multiple premature labels to any one given person because we have this desire that they're it, to fix the woes or challenges that we've experienced in our life. All of these are part of the attachment process. We do this to everyone. We attach all kinds of things to them. Now, we attach some of them very justly, because their behaviors dictate that attachment, and there's no challenge to that or that title to them or the attached definition that they are going to behave a specific way. Like if you know someone not to be honest, you know that titling them a liar is not challenging for you if you truly feel that they are not to be honest. So that's a label that you title them, and it may have come on prematurely because you didn't understand the reason for that lie particularly. But that doesn't mean that you don't understand that they are prone to lying whenever times get hard, whenever there are opportunities for definitions or there are opportunities for distinctions about the way that their life is going, or their opportunity to impress upon you the challenges they're going through. They may want you to believe that it was only the one time, and it's not all encompassing. Some people may tell one lie, and every once in a while, whenever they're disarmed with their ability to deal with something in particular. Some people may not. Some people may be pathological liars. To the way that I view it, and from my experiences, especially in my inquiries into whenever I have been lied to, I've found that the only reason why people lie on a self-driven level or a very deep level for self-preservation is they do not feel safe to tell the truth. Even pathological liars, in my experience, have fallen into that. Had they been presented the right elements at the right time before the habit of lying was set in. As a pathological liar, to me, is kind of like the OCD of lying. So it's just they've developed such an impulsive reaction because of habit that it's now something out of their control, hence impulsive. So yeah, so as far as this is all concerned, these are the attachments that we have because of the way we know people to behave. There are premature attachments and premature titles that we put on people, but also they're well justified at times, not always, but at times. The challenge for you is to distinguish if they're well justified or if they were premature because of your limited understanding of the person or your limited skill set at the time. So it's your job whenever you're dealing with somebody that you know lies, whether you want to help that person achieve honesty or if you wish to abandon that person. If you wish to abandon that person, you have no position to complain about that person. Actually, your complaint is about yourself because you do not have the ability to overcome the challenge that person was facing. And that person was abandoned at a time in their life when they really needed someone to help them develop themselves. So whenever I hear people complaining about another person lying, I hear their own complaints about their own inabilities to make change or help others develop or help others out. So I don't make the person wrong for it. I just see a lacking maturity. So, and again, that's nothing I make as a negative to the person. It's kind of like making a negative out of something that doesn't exist. That's not really desirable for me because that's not something that makes sense in the sense that it's not justifiable negative. So that you understand why I say that I don't make it a negative, is it's not a position for me to make negative. If the person's going around bastardizing and chastising someone else's character and their name or their resume without the desire to actually support the person directly, because that's a support indirectly, but it's a irresponsible support system. That is, maybe you do create the right stimulus, the right upset for that person, the right type of hardship for that person to get them to grow up, or, mature themselves or develop. You can't really claim that as a way of reproducing the result unless you purposely did it knowing that you could reproduce the result. Most people are just lazy and they wish not to actually interact with that person, but they don't mind dragging that person through the mud. Because it's just the way we are for tribalism. That's also an immature position on tribalism. So I look for people that can create solutions for all challenges. And the more people that I find, or the higher degree of development someone has in these particular areas, I may look at for mentorship or like-minded conversation. So that's my closer to newer level of tribalmen. But these tribalmen are worldly. They're world tribe, not local isolated tribes, meaning groups, or they seek out, or they wish to be, they wish to communicate or to contribute to all of humanity rather than to their own personal small end needs. At that level, all of humanity is a low-level personal need, but at the same time is not really low-level. But it is definitely definable for personal need because they see that life can be much more desirable, where we can explore new advancements of personal development as well as technology when we get a lot of this unnecessary suffering and distractions out of the way. So continue moving on. That was a little bit of a digression into the attachment values, but I exposed a little bit of my own attachments. Also, why you'll find that I really don't make people wrong all that often, directly anyway, or even indirectly at times. I really try to be as responsible as possible, but I'm kind of a student practicing my own teacher mentorship value, as I do not have a lot of guidance in this area, nor have I had a whole lot of guidance in this area. So I seek out individuals with those capacities and abilities. That's my attachment values. I seek that particular attachment. All right. Predictability of experience, we've covered that. The attachment values, we've covered that. Okay. How to use this to avoid hangups. Now, the highs are also something. I've spoken a lot about lows, but the highs are, I believe, fairly easy to sift through at this point. When you experience something extremely exciting, to be responsible with it is to not overly fall victim to or to fall into the experience, where you anticipate having that, like jumping out of a plane if you're an adrenaline junkie, and you expect or anticipate having that kind of thrill on a daily basis, or that all other experiences need to live up to that, otherwise that they lose value. Now, this is a common process for people. Maybe it's the best sex you've ever had, and then the person says, you know what, I don't like you as a person, but I do like you as a lover, but I don't want that anymore. I want something a little more fulfilling. So they move on and leave you with the experience of having the best sex you've ever had. And now you're left with back into the dating world, and what is predictably attached, or what you have an attachment to predictability from the past by ratios of experience, is that most people you'll deal with will be less than that value for what you just experienced. Or that person that you just parted ways from was amazing to your experience and to your desires, and now you're back to mediocrity by comparison, because you've moved the measurement. You have changed the position. We used to say, my buddies and I, not about necessarily sex, but it was more of a joking way. And actually, it was more one of my friends. I adopted it as a playful means of exchange. I am the yardstick by which all others will be measured. And it was funny in our 20s, especially when we were going out drinking and, kind of in the lion phase of the ego development, which is the pride member, the pack pride member, alpha male thing. We have fun with that. But the reality is that we do, by our high experiences, change the measurement by other experiences, that we should have more fulfillment in every one of our moments of experience. One of the reasons why we have so much excitement in something new, like again with the jumping out of a plane, being an adrenaline junkie, and this is the first time you've ever done it, is that your sensory system, as soon as it senses danger, your central nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, will react by to activate as much of your sensory system as possible, because survival increases sensory input. And as sensory input is excited, memorization is heightened. The sensations on your skin, the way you feel, if it's cold or hot, all of these different values that your body needs to process in order to survive effectively, all go through this amazing process of memorization, right? It imprints on the brain. When that stimulus becomes present again, it seeks out as much information again to survive the experience, because that's the purpose of the large brain trying to predict the future, so that we can increase our likelihood for survival. So we increased our likelihood for survival by the sensory system. So the way you see, you may see clearer than you really have ever, remembered seeing, as far as your vision is concerned. Or if your vision has become impaired, you seem like your vision has improved mildly or excitingly high, or increased greatly. Your hearing may also increase, or if there's a lot of noise in the area, it may change so that it doesn't necessarily hurt your ears, but your ears regulate in such a way that it can prevent injury, or prevent the pain from disrupting your experience throughout, because again, it wants to survive. So your system does a lot of amazing stuff. And my experiences of these events, the sense of smell excites and increases. Even the way, like whenever I went through, because I've gone skydiving before, I'm not described as being an adrenaline junkie, but if you were with me when I went skydiving, you might think so, because I pulled my tandem partner out of the plane in order to get out in, free fall. So I was a bit aggressive about it. I had no idea really how I was going to behave before I got up there, but I turned on, right? And it was an awesome experience. Although I have used adrenaline and putting myself into certain experiences regularly to overcome social anxiety, because that was the reward for putting myself into strenuous or anxiety-driven experiences, was to go directly at the stimulus, whatever I envisioned being the stimulus. And it was large groups of unknown people, or groups of unknown people, or even just unknown people in general, triggered my anxieties as a child. Now I don't share those anxieties anymore at all. I seek them just because I want to mature continuously. So the sensory system comes online, and it like really comes online in a heightened level. I'd be interested to find out what kind of caloric burn we go through that on a physiological level. But regardless, that's a digression that I would love to have an expert on that would actually be able to carry on that conversation into physiology through the excitement and the adrenaline a basis for survival. But all of these things come online. See, we've moved the bar to what the experience should be like. And any other experience, if we become attached to that type of experience, like that type of stimulus, that type of adrenaline, then we may seek it out regularly. And if we don't get it regularly, then we end up with, well, it was fun, but something could have been better, which is a devaluing system. So these are the types of attachments that we have. That's the heights as well as the lows. General quick introduction anyway. I mean, I would hope that it's come across. It's a fairly simplistic introduction. Now, what do we do with this? Here's another quick example out of my life. The human manual has been my life's work now for some time. I'm absolutely passionately involved with it. It's something that I write regularly and I write daily, unless, there's a few occasions when I don't, but for the most part, my intention is to write daily. Also, anything and everything that I can do to continue this process, to experience and to achieve this goal is what excites me. I was asked by a friend of mine who certainly is of means. She's well into means of being able to help this come to fruition. She's experimenting with an idea that by the turn of the next year would be something that we both feel would be extremely effective and very successful. She's not a stranger to successful experiences. She's self-made and like all these other things that she's gone through. But she asked me if I wanted to make the human manual into a documentary. And she happens to know several key players in the world of documentaries and also indie films and things like that. And most people, or even a younger me, a less matured me, would have saw that as a lottery ticket, like the winning lottery ticket. Like, oh, that's going to be, that's it right there. Yes. Woo. Right. Jump for joy. I firmly believe that my education can greatly benefit pretty much all people, just because of my observations and maturity and lacking thereof maturity. I really thought that would be the thing. Like in my youth, I would have thought that would have been like, the lottery ticket, the winning lottery ticket. I would have made it. And instead of getting overly excited, I asked the next valuable question. I sought out the most valuable question that was necessary, which is what's next? What do we have to do next in order to achieve this? And she gave me a few things that were her suggestions. And I've since sought out a few other answers to find out what would be the most effective approach and means of achieving this particular goal, rather than sit back and tell everybody about how awesome this thing's going to be and blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, okay, I wasn't holding, I wasn't the overly excited, Charlie in the Chocolate Factory holding the golden ticket kind of thing, right? I was more, and I still am. This is pretty much the way I reacted. Yeah, I'm absolutely interested. What do we need to do next? So that's like where I would have been lost in the high at a younger stage or less mature me. Now, it's not that I don't believe it or anything like that. There's none of that at all present. It's just, what do I do next? What's the next step? If I can't get an answer right away from somebody, I'll seek it out. And I'm still seeking it out regardless to find out what is the most effective means to achieving that particular goal. So that's it, right? And the lows affect me very similar too. Somebody says something like, I'm the first speeding ticket in like 10 years, right? I got it the other day. Truth be told, I was driving, I had to go to the bathroom, and I was 3 minutes, not even, from where I had to go, my destination. And I was a little heavier on the accelerator. Not too significant, but still a little heavier on the accelerator than I may have normally have been. And I got a ticket where I would have been like, how am I going to pay for this thing? Or, in the past anyway, or I really don't want to spend that money or blah, 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 right? All these other things that would get in the way. I was more, okay, I'm not depressed by it at all. It's just one more thing to take care of. That's okay. And the lessons that come out of that and everything else. I'm not emotionally imprinted to any significant degree to go, oh, that stupid cop or anything like that. He's doing his job. I was doing what I felt was necessary at the time, and it wasn't agreed upon between the two of us. So I was cited, and that was it. And I said, thank you very much, and I moved on. So I wasn't struck by, oh my, how am I going to achieve this, or somebody's punishing me, or some other nonsensical belief. I was okay. I wasn't being fully responsible, and because I wasn't being fully responsible, I got the reward of not being fully responsible. Right? I got my own Darwin Award in a sense, although it didn't get to the point of threatening my life or anyone else's. It's still, I was reminded I wasn't being responsible. So I could have made up a story about, oh, of course, it's right near my birthday. Of course, it's going to end up happening, and blah, 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 and every year, blah, blah, whatever. Nope. I don't really care to spend that time anymore in a pity party or anything else, or trying to convince myself or anyone else that something's out to get me. No, none of that nonsense. I just wasn't being responsible, and I've actively been cleaning up all the areas in my life I was irresponsible in, to the level of knowing what responsibility is at this point. So I've been actively doing this for more than 7 years now. I've been actively cleaning up all the areas I was being irresponsible. So that's it. So the attachment levels, highs and lows. What do? The benefit of this is you move so much quicker through challenges. You achieve your goals so much more effectively. You don't get hung up as much. You don't get hung up to the point you stop, or you put your desires or dreams on hold. You continue to seek out solutions to the challenges that block you or that are in your way from your goal. That's it. Rather than sitting in bed for 3 days moping around because it didn't work. If you had to do that, do it. But you don't necessarily have to. That just may be your default way, but it's not a necessity. So anyway, all right. Well, I hope that this has been greatly beneficial to you. It felt wonderful to express it, to bring it out to light. Again, this is Chad Everett Brochures. I'm the host of Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia, and I'm also the author of the Human Manual and the very up and coming, very soon, Introduction to the Human Manual. Also, my website will be launched very soon, which is www.thehumanmanual.net. And you'll find from that, in my Gumroad account, you'll find my programs available November 1st. There'll be 5 of them on launch day. So I'll keep you guys updated. Today's been, October 5th, 2015. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the show. Share it if you like. Share it anywhere you like. You can send it in email form, text form. You can send it through Facebook or any of the multimedia platforms or social media platforms. There's a lot of ways of sharing this. So if you enjoyed what you did, subscribe, of course, please. I'd really appreciate having more subscribers, so I can also open up some more conversation points. So I'm not necessarily mining it out of my resources, and I'd rather take it from where you sit, what your positions and challenges are, and also exploring these things with me, especially the areas that I'm unaware of. I'm happy to bring guests on to educate me, and also our guests are to the viewers of the show. So, all right, guys, thank you very much. Again, it's Chad. This is Growing Up in the World. I'm sorry. This is Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. Oh, forgot for a second. All right, till next time, guys. Enjoy your day.